call the Village of Lansing Committee of the Whole meeting for September 17th, 2024 to order. I'll ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Saad
Here.
Trustee Smith. Here. Trustee Hardy.
Here.
Trustee Abbasy. Trustee Valencia.
Here.
Trustee Grady-Parovich.
Here. Trustees have before them the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of September 3rd, 2024. Are there questions or discussion on those minutes? Call the roll.
Trustee Hardy.
Aye.
Trustee Abbasy.
Aye.
Trustee Grady-Parovich. Trustee Smith. Trustee Saad Abbasy.
Aye.
Trustee Valencia.
Aye.
I have nothing under the mayor's report. Village Administrator's report. Mr. Podgorski.
Thank you, Mayor. One item here this evening. We have with us tonight longtime Lansing residents Ralph and Lois Hoekstra. Ralph and Lois are here to request a renewal of their Class 8 property tax classification designation for commercial/industrial property that they own on Chappel Avenue. They own the first unit on the west side of the street, going north of Thornton Lansing Road. Its address is 17930 through 17950 Chappelle. They were instrumental in helping that area get developed years ago in the early 90s. And they've got three great tenants in their locations. And I don't want to steal their thunder. I'd like to welcome Lois or Ralph or both to come up and just give us just a brief introduction, if you would, Lois, to your property. Maybe talk a little bit about your tenants. The board has the renewal application in front of them, and you did a great job of answering all the questions in the renewal application. So just tell us a little bit about your tenants and anything else you'd like.
Mayor Edom, Village Board. I'm Lois Hoekstra. My husband Ralph is here, but due to some medical issues, he has asked me to speak for him regarding this renewal of Class 8 status. We have our daughter Valerie with us, who helped us also with the application. In the late 1990s, Ralph had a vision for an industrial park to be built in the West Lansing area that was sitting vacant and blighted for years. He contacted the Village of Lansing and was told the area was not developed because of lack of water to the area and a need for a new water tower. An agreement was made with the village and we would donate land for the water tower, and the village provided certain infrastructure. This is the land on which the building we are discussing tonight is located. Because of the additional water tower and the water available, the entire west end of Lansing has developed into a very busy industrial park of which I think the village can be proud. Tenant 1 of the building we are discussing is 9,750 square feet and is equally divided into 3 units of 3,250 square feet each. Tenant 1, 17950 Chappelle, is Nelson Transport Service. This business is an MBA certified expedited delivery company. It was a startup business when they became a tenant 12 years ago. It began with 4 employees and now has 12. Tenant 2, 17940 Chappelle, is HVAC Masters. This was a young business which began in Lansing by Lansing residents. As they saw their business expand, they were looking for a business space from which they could operate and wanted to keep their business in Lansing. They began with 4 employees and now have 10 full-time employees with full benefits and anticipate more growth. Tenant 3, 17930 is Alliance Environmental Incorporated, which has been in business since 2003 and a tenant of ours for 12 years. They have grown each year, currently have 10 full-time employees with additional employees depending on the size of the project they're working on. All 3 tenants have expressed their desire to continue at their Lansing location if their rents remain manageable and they anticipate yearly growth. Current tenants are not retail establishments and do not generate sales tax. However, we asked them how much they patronize the local Lansing merchants, and we were amazed. One tenant listed over 30 businesses they currently patronize, which generate local sales tax. The big challenge we have is the fact that we are located on the Illinois-Indiana border. As we all know, Cook County taxes are very high, and occasionally checking rental prices in Munster and Hammond, we find them considerably lower. We are slow to increase rents as we have responsible tenants, knowing they are hard to find. Should we be denied a renewal of the Class 8 incentive, and referring to the tax impact table provided to the village, the real estate taxes would increase from $28,000, which we paid in 2022, to over $65,000. If we would divide that increase between 3 tenants, it would be more than they could bear, and we would fear losing 3 tenants and a possible vacant building. We have appreciated working with the Village of Lansing on these projects, and we are hoping that the board will consider our need for a renewal of this. Thank you very much.
Lois, thanks for that great recap. And we threw some pictures up of the building. We had our department go up and get a nice shot of the entire unit. And as you were talking,
We had a black top just for the photo.
perfect. I love it. So the trustees have obviously you took them through a great recap, and I really enjoyed hearing about how all three of those businesses started out, how they're growing, and also hearing about how they patronize other businesses in Lansing. And that's what development is all about. The last page of the application obviously has the projected taxes without the Class 8, with the Class 8, and you can see how significant the savings are. This is a busy area, sometimes overlooked because the Torrance corridor and Ridge Road, but Chappel has a lot of great businesses down there, and adds to the tax base and helps keep taxes somewhat manageable for the rest of the village. So. Does anybody have any other questions for Ralph or for Lois?
I don't have a question, just a comment. When I think about this development, along with how it started out, the need for water for that part of town, and then to have that working relationship with our residents where a water tower goes in, the beautiful buildings that are built, it's not just your building, but building up and down Chappell is really a diamond of an industrial area in Lansing that is kind of off the beaten path. It's just a great example, I think, of a way that our long-term residents have a vision for the village, work closely with the village, get together, figure out a way to make it happen. And then the whole village benefits. Water is supplied to that whole part of town. All our businesses are patronized by the businesses that come in there. I know this is just all goes up and down Chappell there. So it really is an example of what we hope would happen when our residents reach out to the village and come with an idea and work together to figure out a way to make it happen. And to hear how businesses are thriving, obviously, the HVAC business is something that we're familiar with, a lot of the village as well. Just great businesses, and I do believe we need to do what we can to keep them in our town.
I totally agree with that. Anybody have any other questions or thoughts for discussion?
Dan, can you go over the renewal? How long do these last, and when can be granted in a lifetime?
Well, it's a 12-year program. So in years 1 through 10, the assessment is reduced from 25% of the commercial rate to 10%, which is essentially the residential rate. Years 11 and 12, that assessment starts to climb back up to the commercial rate. Petitioners can petition for renewal at year 10, and at this point there's no cap by the county. It's a county program. It has to be approved by the village, and then there's an application that's made to the county. There is no cap at this point in time for that Class 8 program.
Thank you.
Okay, if the trustees don't have any other questions or concerns, I'd like to recommend that we bring this to the board for consideration and a vote at the next meeting on October 1st, if everybody's okay with that. Okay. And I just want to do, so this will, Mr. and Mrs. Hoekstra, this will be, as we discussed, this will be voted on October 1st. I just wanted to thank you guys for your great renewal application and your presentation tonight. We get lots of these, and actually it's probably one of the best renewal applications that I've had the chance to read through. And if you guys are looking for some extra work, wouldn't mind having you guys counsel some of our other applicants on how to put together a good application. So there you go. Sounds good. Thanks for coming tonight. This will be on the agenda for a vote in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Mind if we leave for Culver's?
I would recommend it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Mayor, that's all I have tonight.
None of the department heads are allowed to go with the extras. Village Attorney's Report, Mr. Welch. Thank you. Finance and Insurance, Trustee Abbasy.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, we're going to have our fiscal year 23 audit report. I'll introduce Finance Director Hanigan, who will introduce our guests from RSM. Finance Director Hanigan.
Mayor item, Mr. Podgorski, Clerk Payne, trustees, Attorney Welch. Tonight you're going to hear from our two partners from RSM that have been, RSM, as the board knows, has been involved with the Village of Lansing for the better part of 2 decades. Jen and Kelly oversee our audit, and without further ado, I'll just turn it right over to them, and they can kind of give you the results of a lot of the same financial information that we've been seeing during our budget process the last couple of years, and the board reports.
I will change it for you if you wanted to tell me.
Sure.
Okay. So good evening, everybody. Gosh, as Brian mentioned, my name is Kelly Kirkman. You can switch to the next one. And John George. And really our plan today is just to go over the April 2023 audit, very briefly, very high level, just to give you the overall results. Go on to the next one. So just a quick overview of the audit process. So the audit is a long process. So we started back in February with some of our preliminary field work. They're both remote and on-site. A lot of things we can do, over email and shared sites, but we do come on-site to Lansing as well. We meet with management, talk with the board, establish some of the deadlines and expectations. We spend a lot of time looking at controls, really get into payroll and disbursements. We get into compliance testing, both for the TIFs and then also for federal funds. Send out confirmations, we're looking at board minutes, really using this time to develop to assess what the risks of the village are and how we're going to tailor our audit approach to that. Next one. Final field work then kicks off a month or 2 later, so this was in April. Again, we were both on-site and remote. Brian can tell you and Karen, we ask for a lot of information. So it's a lot of detailed testing. It's a lot of getting into specific transactions, and management is always extremely responsive throughout the whole process. This is really just a visual to look at the different segments of the audit. So starting out with our preliminary stuff where we're understanding the client and some of the objectives. Getting into our risks and then developing the audit procedures up to where we're at today with issuing the final report. Results of the audit, there was a new standard that was implemented this year, so GASB 87. Really, it has to do with leases, and certain leases that were treated as operating leases in the past are now, really your balance sheet is kind of grossed up, and we're reporting assets and liabilities for certain leases. So I know Brian and management spent a lot of time gathering information on that new standard, but the audit, there was a clean and unmodified opinion, so that is the same opinion that we've had in the past. It's the best opinion that you can get. Throughout the audit process, we didn't have any adjusting journal entries, so we didn't come in at the end and find a bunch of accounts that need to be adjusted. So I think that should give the board a little bit of comfort that the information that you're getting from management on a monthly basis is accurate if we don't come in and make a lot of adjustments at year end. We do make some report-only entries just to put together the big report, but no audit entries. The other important thing, I wanted to point out, there were no significant deficiencies and no material weaknesses. So that means we had no control issues. And then there were also no compliance findings, either with the TIF reports or with the federal funds that we tested. Financial report highlights. So we are getting printed copies, so Brian will have those next week, but I believe he gave to the board the PDF. So it's a long document. It's almost 200 pages at this point. Obviously not going to go through all that today, but just wanted to point out a few areas for the board. The opinion is the first couple pages in there, and like I said, that was an unmodified, clean opinion, the best opinion you can get. Management is really responsible for preparing those financial statements, and then our responsibility is just expressing that opinion on them. The section of the report that I always point people to is management's discussion and analysis. It's about 10 pages. It's written in narrative format, so you're not looking at a bunch of different financial statements, but it's really management's overview of what happened at the village throughout the years. So it talks about different fluctuations and initiatives that the village has. Your financial report is made up of plenty of different funds. So you've got, ranging from your general fund all the way down to your various special revenue funds. Really just wanted to highlight the general fund for you. That's, the main operating fund of the village. And here you'll see that your fund balance had another healthy increase from 22 to 23. So it was up about $4 million in your fund balance at about $17.8 million at the end of 23. One thing to point out is that fund balance represents about 57% of your expenditures. So it's a really healthy fund balance. So the GFOA recommends that you have about 2 months of expenditures in your fund balance. When we do the calculation, you have approximately 7 months. So, and I know a focus of management lately is, looking at reserves and making sure that things are, properly accounted for, and, you do have the healthy fund balance in the general fund for that. And then quickly, just an overview of the budget from 2023. So actual revenue was, less than budgeted revenue. It was consistent with prior year, but less than budget. A little bit just had to do with some of the budgeting for state grants, and I think it's some of the timing with that coronavirus money that was coming in. And then actual expenditures were significantly less than budgeted expenditures. A lot of that has to do with public safety, budgeting for some of the pension contributions and capital projects in those funds. TIF reports, just very briefly, we do issue 5 separate TIF reports, so those are listed here. Really just to point out that there were no compliance findings and no issues in any of that detailed testing that we do there. And then finally, some of our required communications to the board. This would be a separate, probably about 10-page PDF that was sent to you, but really just highlighting what we talked about. No significant or unusual transactions. The village did adopt a new pronouncement, so we had SB 87. No audit adjustments. In certain instances, you can choose between different accounting treatments, and we have no issues with any of those that management chose. There's no alternative ways to treat items in the financial statements. And then really no disagreements with management. Management is always great to work with out here. We ask for a lot of stuff and always have a good relationship there. No consultations with other accountants, and really no difficulties in performing the audit. So it's a long process, but it was, again, it's relatively smooth. I mean, I think this year the year of having new accounting pronouncements takes a little bit longer, and so that was, I think, what you're seeing with some of the delays this year. But working closely with Brian and getting the plan together to get 24 going, and hopefully up and down pretty quickly as well. So happy to, John, want to chime in, or happy to take any questions?
I'll say a couple things just because I'm standing up. Appreciate everybody's support, your team. Obviously, a clean financial opinion, clean opinion of compliance is what you want. Strong financial results and accountability on the financial statements. And then, building of reserves to help support your projects. So all good reports. The adoptions of the standards are significant. With 87 this year, and then next year we got for 24 we got 96. So another significant one with that's subscription-based technology agreements. So again, picking up technology subscriptions onto the balance sheet. So putting more information on the balance sheet. So it's a lot of work the management's going to have to put together. But strong team and supportive. So we appreciate all the work that they do to support us in the process of putting together this financial statement. And here to answer any questions if you have.
Kelly and John, I just want to say thank you. I know you guys do a lot of other municipalities, and it's great to see that, Kelly, you were saying that we have approximately maybe 7 months in reserve. Is that kind of common with other municipalities? Well, how would you kind of rate, and I just kind of like to hear that, and maybe the audience, to other municipalities that you got to deal with?
It's a strong, stable financials. That's what you want, right? I mean, that 6-month window from the government finance officer's report that Kelly mentioned is really to get you through the time of the tax revenues that come through. So from a stability with your financials.
Right.
So having access to that is increased stability. So that is positive. We don't see that often in a lot of municipals. So it's good fiscal management.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear that. I mean, I know, the whole board and the department has, work hard, to make sure that reserve is there. So thanks for doing that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Finance Director Hanigan, I hope that you'll communicate to Karen.
Yeah,
Rena as well. Just our gratitude for the long hours that they put into the work.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if it's, I won't take a lot longer, but I would be remiss if I didn't thank about an important part of my department. Karen Giovanni, none of what you see here could get done without Karen. She is my right arm. She's the controller of the village, and she oversees the movement of money from when we receive it from the state to when we disperse it. Also, Karina Lopez, I know the board knows, she is Karen's right arm. She does all the bank recs. I think the board knows Lori Nyland is in charge of our payroll. And I would really be remiss if I didn't mention Julie Shakatano, who's on the water desk where we have our receivables and try to do our best to manage that cash flow. So John and Kelly mentioned these pronouncements. She's being kind. If KSB 87 was a challenge, that was on me because I had to get a lot of detailed documents from different department heads, and it just took a while for us to. If there has been a delay, that's probably one of the reasons. We have a similar pronouncement in next year's financials, KSB 96, I think it is, right, Kel? And that's subscriptions. Bottom line is you got to put all these things on the balance sheet. It really isn't all that material to the whole village's financial situation, but it's something that we have to do. So anyway.
Are we caught up on our audit schedule? I know we were delayed, I think, for 22.
We were, because of, again, it started with COVID. My speed bump last summer didn't help, and then, but we are in the process with Kelly of getting caught up with the 24 audit. We hope to get that started sometime before the holidays kick in, and we'll present that to you early, hopefully during the first quarter of the new year, January, February. So.
Trustees, do you have any further questions for Finance Director Hanigan or for John or Kelly? Thanks for your partnership with the village.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Finance Director, do you want to also go to that next item, which is the tax increment finance district cash flow projections? Or is that all fine?
I don't think we have. I don't think we have anything on this. So I wanted to just take a minute. So the extension that we're requesting on Ridge Road, as the board knows, is going to be an important part of the projects, starting with, not starting or ending, but with Fox Point, sports complex, all the projects that we have throughout the village. And our plan is to not just get the extension for Ridge Road, but also to create a few other TIFs that will allow us to move the money throughout the village appropriately to fund projects within those TIF districts. I think some on the board have asked me, I'm estimating that we will have about $6.2 million in the Ridge Road TIF, or in that $6 to $6.5 million range at the end of this fiscal year. And so the structure of the agreement that Administrator Podgorski has designed for the other taxing agencies is to give up 2 years, and then we would get 10. So we would be giving up somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.1 to $2.3 million of increment to all those taxing agencies, and we have the cash flow to settle it, to take care of our cash flow over the next 2 years within the Ridge Road TIF. If we don't have the money, or if there was something that happens, I'm not sure what that would be, frankly, but we can move money from the other TIF locations if we have to. Again, we've done this with Attorney Welch's help. That's one of the things that we're going to be doing within the next fiscal year. But I wanted to make the board clear that we have the funds within Ridge Road to manage projects over the next 2 years as we pay that increment to the other taxing agencies.
Trustees, any questions? Administrator Podgorski, there's no action item on the accepting the audit report, is there?
Correct, no.
Okay. Thank you. Mayor, nothing further tonight.
Thank you. Kelly and John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I remember way back when Kelly used to just sit in the audience and just that was a while ago. Move on to airport and economic development. Trustee Smith.
I have no items, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Police and fire. Trustee Zeldenrust.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First up, Chief, if you can, chat with us a little bit about the intergovernmental agreement with Thornton Fractional Township High School District 215 for school resource officer.
Trustee Zeldenrust, thank you for the opportunity. Trustee Mayor, Administrator Podgorski, this is just a renewal of an agreement we've had in place with a couple small changes, minor. Working with our attorneys, we realized we did not need specific errors and omission insurance. That's covered under a separate section that we already have. So our attorneys recommended that we remove that clause. That was very, very minor. And then we just tweaked the starting and ending times on this agreement. This is where the school district is actually paying for this officer. It's a great program, and we've been very successful for years. I think we all know we had a little bump in the road last year. I think we're getting past that. We have a great new officer in the school, Officer Dion Duplessis. The great thing about him, he's a very friendly looking guy, big guy. I wouldn't mess with him. But not only that, he's one of our emergency response team operators. He's on the South Suburban Emergency Response Team. He knows how to take care of business, and that's one thing we're going to do is we're going to take care of our students, take care of our community, but if they're going to mess around in that school, they got to deal with them. So I think everything's starting to fall back into place there. I just want to thank you for your time to help us update that. Take any questions with that?
Chief, every year we renew this, but we get a new resource officer? This is a new person you just introduced?
Yes, we have a new resource officer coming in there. Typically, it's about a 4-year assignment. We kind of rotate our officers through there. We love it when they can start with a freshman class and they follow them all the way through, and then we rotate somebody else in there. Different circumstances dictated why we changed last one out, but I think we're really excited to have Dion in there as well.
So Dion's expected to do this for 4 years, as long as he stays on?
Hopefully.
Okay.
Hopefully longer.
Trustees have any other questions for Chief about this renewal? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you, appreciate it. Now we're going to start.
For agenda for approval. I'm sorry?
What's that, Chief?
Well, I was just warming up my on-deck batter here.
Oh, yeah.
My star hitter's coming up.
Next up, complete with pictures, I'm told. Our 911 dispatch grant agreement between the state of Illinois, Illinois State Police and the Village of Lansing Supervisor of Communication and Records, Brian Weiss. It's all yours.
Thank you, Trustees Eldrust. Good evening, everybody. I wanted to let everybody know that I applied for a grant to fund 3 different projects from the state of Illinois for the 911 Center. And the Village of Lansing is going to receive $289,717 in grant funding for this. There's 3 projects. This kind of can get pretty technical, but the summary of it is that we're going to integrate our emergency medical dispatch instructions. So I think from other meetings, everybody's heard that our dispatchers are given the pre-arrival instructions. They're on like a flip card system. This is now going to be integrated into the computer to save time. So everything we've done so far is like US Digital with reducing the dispatch time and response time. This will also reduce it because when they put the call type in the patient complaint like difficulty breathing, all the stuff that you're supposed to ask, all the questions and everything will populate in the computer for them. So this grant covers that software and also integration into our system. We're going to go also have the ability to have what's called a CAD-to-CAD system with Calumet City Police Department. They're our backup 911 center. What this does is that it's going to allow Calumet City to view what police calls we have going on at any time. And it's obviously an administrative decision between the chiefs on seeing where our officers are and vice versa. We'll be able to see what calls are going on in Calumet City and where their officers are. Our north end of town is obviously our busier end, and we work with Calumet City a lot, and that really helps us when when something happens for us to make that net bigger. The quicker we can get the information out, the quicker other people can come help us out or us help them. Is a good thing for everybody. Information sharing is big right now, and this is a system, the software integration, all that's covered underneath the grant. The third one, which is all of it's pretty important to me, but the school mapping system. Obviously, you hear on the news all the time about it. We train, and we do everything that we can here to make sure that we try to keep our students safe in Lansing. The school mapping grant, what it's going to do is that there is a company that's going to come out and basically walk the hallways of the schools and verify, creating a great detailed map that not only will dispatch have, but our police and firefighters have. Fabian, could you jump maybe to the next one for me, please? Here's a good example, like if we take a call from a school and they say, well, I'm in room 102 or the gym hallway. Where's that at? Even for people who go there a lot, sometimes it's like, and then the school will change numbering of rooms, so it really gets confusing. So this map is actually going to straighten all that out. If you can jump to the next one for me, please, Fabian. Here's an example of what the map is going to look like. There may be some tweaks to it or difference. This right now is a map that District 158 has, which is very close to what's going to be created. This is Coolidge School, and you can see the detail that's on this map is that they have the main entrance, what each office is, what the name and the room numbers are. It even goes down to where the AED locations is for the fire department, the fire panel connections. You notice at Coolidge, it actually has the instructions there and indicated where the ladder is in the gym to go up. I bet a lot of people don't know that there's access to that area in Coolidge School, and police and firefighters will be able to pull that up. The nice part about this is that the school is also going to get this map. And if the school's map that they have right now, District 158 has been pretty good. This is actually very current. The other schools, districts, including our private schools, the Lansing Christian and Eagle Academy, if they don't have a map that is up to standards, this company is actually going to come out and walk the entire building and map it for them. It is as you can see, Fabian, if you could jump to the next one for me, please. You're also going to get an overview of outside. What this will do is also help, if you remember the game Battleship, A5, B5, it's all gridded out. So you could say if there's an incident, that the reunification point is at A4 and everybody's going to know where A4 is. Fire department station something at a different location, everybody will be on the same page. It's a pretty powerful tool that's going to be available to us and the schools, and it'll definitely save time. In fact, we've already, the District 158 maps, we've already kind of used them a little bit already in situations of like burglar alarms where the alarm company will tell us it's coming from hallway zone A. Okay, where's hallway zone A? So we go on the map and we try to figure out if we've been able to relay that to the officers. So this one is pretty important to me, and I think this is one of those instances where it's a win-win for both sides, and the state's paying for it, so that's even better. So with the emergency medical dispatch instructions, the state 911 administrator asked me to write the grant for 5 other 911 centers in the state, including ours. So you'll actually see on the official grant paperwork, it's going to come through as you'll see in one spot, it totals like $500,000. That's because that was the cost of all the centers. But I was able to get those other 911 centers and our request for the EMD instructions approved. So it's pretty complex. We're going to have a bunch of things going on at once, and hopefully we can get all this stuff going by the end of first quarter next year. I'd like to get everything done, but we're coming up on the holidays and everything. But I just think, once again, this is something that is going to put us at the forefront here of emergency services, and also do the best we can to try to keep people safe.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, Brian can be a little bit of a humble guy sometimes. Explain to us how you write a grant for Lansing, but then you wind up writing it for these other departments as well. Upon request.
So I was talking with the statewide 911 administrator and about the EMD grant, and we're talking, and she was like, well, you know what, your last grant went really good. Would you mind doing this for the 5 other centers? And I figured, well, for the lady who approves it, I'll say yes. Sure, yes, I will. So, and here we are. So, yep, so.
Yeah, that's quite a feather in our cap, not only the village, but you as, being on that 911 board and having your fingers on the pulse of all that takes place 911 related throughout the whole state. And for them to single you out as being the one to follow as an example to get the job done is pretty great. And something to be proud of.
Thank you.
So good job there. Action-wise, Administrator Podgorski, is there anything that needs to happen with this?
Yeah, the grant agreement should be formally authorized and approved.
We have that ready, drafted and ready for our next village board as well.
They'll be ready.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it. Maybe that's all I have for this meeting.
Thank you. Buildings and Public Works, Trustee Valencia.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple items tonight. If I can have our Director of Public Works, Mr. Richardson, come on up. He's got a couple of items he wants to review with the board. First one being a request for 2 Ford F-250 pickup trucks via the Enterprise Leasing Program. The second one being a concrete or sidewalk replacement or fixing. I don't know how you place that, but I'll let you handle it, Mr. Richardson.
Thank you.
It's a good program, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Trustees. I'm coming to you tonight in regards to 2 service vehicles that we have, pickup trucks. I'm looking up here, and that's the concrete. Okay. We don't have to.
I don't have it.
That's fine.
Yeah, let's just minimize that for now.
Yeah. I'm looking to purchase 2 vehicles through the Enterprise program, working with Director Hanigan, our fearless Finance Director. We have 2 2014s that were bought. Truck number 28, truck number 29, they both are over 103,000 miles. And I'm here before you today to look to replace those 2 vehicles. These pickups are our everyday service vehicles. They're not like the big trucks that we use in the winter. These are everyday trucks that I'm looking to replace. And of course, with timing of getting vehicles, we would probably not see it till probably January of 2025. So they will be in service until then.
Do you put plows on these too?
We've been doing parking lots, yes, sir.
So, I mean, would you be able to use the old plows, the old Western plows, or is that what you have?
For now, yes.
Yeah.
For now,
Yeah.
yes.
And then with the old ones, does that Do we sell those, or is that in the?
I am going to look to sell them when that scrap period comes.
So they're pretty much scrap?
Well, we might get something.
Yeah.
Yes, we might get something, yes. One is the water truck that we use, the water flowers now. They're both everyday vehicles, so we might get something for it.
I can see that why you're using the F-250s if that were a big water tank or something.
Yes, yes,
That's a lot of weight.
Yes.
1,000.
when it's full,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Finance Director, this is budgeted for in
In the water.
approved. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, there's one is a water truck, is here, just said the other is a sewer truck, so it's maybe the water sewer fund that's in the budget.
Thank you.
That water truck, is that just used in the TIF area, or is that used around town?
No, when we classify it like that, that's just a truck that's going into our water department. The other truck will go into our sewer department. Yes.
But to answer your question,
It's around town, yes.
It's service.
Yes, yes it does.
Okay.
Yes it does.
So if there are any more questions, we can add this to our next meeting, October 1st. Next.
Thank you. I'll be very quick tonight. Mayor, trustees, this is one program I am proud of. Last year I attended the 2023 American Public Works Conference in St. Louis, and I know since I've been here, Administrator Podgorski has been really on me about sidewalks and grinding, and I've been fighting about the grinding situation. And last year I went to the Public Works Conference and I saw a program where they were not grinding, they were cutting. And I just didn't understand how I could walk in this building. There's no dust, there's no mud, there's no water. I got really excited about it. So I ran home and called up Dan and said, hey, I want you to come see this program. And we took a ride out to Country Club Hills, and I think he was just as impressed as I was. Philip Sitton is here tonight from St. Step. Come on up, Phil. I am not going to steal his thunder. I'm going to let him talk about the program that we are putting together here for Lansing, and I'm going to give him some time to discuss what his company does with the product. Phil? Thank you.
So Phil, just so you know, what's up on the screen, those are like 6 pictures that I took when we were in Country Club Hills back in like March of this year. The documents that the board has are not up on the screen. So you can talk to the program and you can talk to the proposal that deals with the sidewalks that Gary sent you. But if you want to explain what saw cutting does, you can utilize those pictures to help.
Sure, that sounds good. Thank you very much. My name is Philip Sitton. I am the Senior Illinois Project Manager for Safe Step Sidewalks. We partner with municipalities to create sidewalk programs. The 5 core objectives that we're looking to achieve with any sidewalk program is to create the benefits of increased safety and mobility. We want to reduce legal liability. We'd like to improve ADA compliance. We want our clients to save money, and we'd like to decrease complaints. I believe, did everyone receive the packets that we had put for the slideshow? Okay. One of the first things we did was we wanted to understand what we were looking at. So we went ahead and we tracked out all of the sidewalks in Lansing. We wanted to understand that infrastructure. Prior to learning about its condition, we wanted to know how much there was. So we found that many of the streets have 0 sidewalks, some have 1, some have sidewalks on both sides of the street. And we wound up at 136.61 miles. Replacement value for that is just a shade over $72 million. So it does help to create the perspective of understanding why you should maintain your walkways. They can last a really long time. Once we track out the miles, that's sort of the first step of the equation to understanding the life cycle. Once we're there and we're evaluating and we create that plan, we're going to take that, your average repairs per mile, your average replacement per mile, and we're going to factor that into the actual miles that you have here, and we're going to be able to create life cycles. Based on that, we'll be able to understand what your objectives are and how best to pursue those. in working with Gary initially, as he mentioned, Gary and Dan came out. We went on a field trip to Country Club Hills. We met with the Assistant Public Works Director, Mike Kuda, out there as well. He was gracious enough to meet with us and give us some time. That was neat too, because we saw we continued from their pilot a year ago. So we got to see how they held up over 1 year. And then they got to see the process as the production was actually occurring as well. We know that roughly 81% of the repairs that we make are going to move less than 1/4 of an inch over 20 years. So in working with Gary, we found that really the biggest pain and biggest focal point that he'd like to address was a complaint backlog. This went back to February of 2023. That has a resident impact, but it also has a legal liability impact as well. They need to be addressed. So we found displacements and also just R&R locations where they're going to need to be removed and replaced. We put all 74 of those complaint locations into a KML on a map, and usually there is like a focal area where we notice a high hazard density, and that's maybe a good place to go ahead and concentrate. What we found was the complaints were coming in from all over Lansing. There really was not one area that was more or less affected than any other. I created, with Gary, we made customized defect criteria. We do this for every municipality with whom we work. We want to understand, what you would like to saw cut, what you would call a replacement, what would you lift. It's a very, very cooperative and collaborative process. So across those 74 addresses, we came up with 162 hazards. 78 are suitable to be able to save through our socketting process. 77 are going to require R&R, and 7, I believe Lansing's going to either pursue through in-house repairs, or they didn't really meet that level where much needs to be done right now, anyways. We implement a 4-stage sidewalk program. Initially, we'd like to consult, and that's really just listing where you guys at today, where would you like to be, and then how can we get there. The second is going to be the evaluation side, where we actually apply that customized defect criteria to the pavement to gain those insights, to understand the best course forward insofar as remediation. And then we complete those repairs with our horizontal stock up process. We're going to take care of all those trip hazards where there are vertical offsets. We also help spearhead your effort across all forms of remediation. We have a proprietary online portal called Sidewalk Central, and through that you're able to actually create an entire bid package to go ahead and get that R&R. We set the table for you. So you have a before photo, you have cost information, what you can expect to be paying, and we actually plug yours right in there. And then you'll have a note section, dimensions, and really total control. Just because we survey something to the criteria doesn't mean that you have to do it. You have the autonomy to be able to change from a saw cut to R&R. We have side-by-side pricing information. Throughout the entire process, you are in charge. Really, the goal of the defect criteria is to apply your mindset to the walkways. For this defect criteria, Gary and I basically work together with his familiarity with Lansing's budget and objectives, his own sidewalk background, and then also my application of the new PROAG guidelines that passed this law late last year. PROAG stands for Public Right-of-Way Accessibility Guidelines. High level, it's basically how ADA is applied outside. So it's your running slopes, it's what is a trip hazard, turnaround spaces, ramps, the whole 9. We physically walk the sidewalk segments. We have tested out LiDAR. Nothing can measure really at 1/8 of an inch. And we take 26 data points for every single hazard that we catalog. Panels reviewed for all applicable repair types. So that's your saw cutting, your replacement, your lifting. And then, as I mentioned, you folks maintain full control throughout the whole process. These are engineering level. For the repairs themselves, we incorporate all engineering. We incorporate the online portal. It's one price, and that price captures everything we do for you. It's not an a la carte menu of this costs this costs that. And generally, those repairs that we that we make are about a third as much as a new panel. So we're completing all the engineering. The ROI on that is very beneficial for the clients with whom we work. The resident impact is very low with our system as we make these ADA compliant repairs. They generally take about 10 to 15 minutes per panel. That includes cleanup as well. Residents typically don't even know that we were there unless they come back and they see, oh my gosh, I'm not falling. We can effectively commit to about 50 repairs per technician per day. Our technicians, they roll in 2-man teams. They go through 3 months of socialization training. It's very important to us that we represent Lansing in a positive light. We want our folks, because folks are curious too, what are you guys doing out here? And we want them to be able to engage with your residents as if we did work for you, because we do, we're partners. Our mobile unit fits inside of a 3-foot sidewalk. So this is not big heavy machinery that's wiping out all the landscaping where we gotta go back and reseed. This is a highly mobile unit with a mobile generator on it. Also, we don't produce any concrete slurry. We are a dry cutting operation. So with that, we have over 90% dust abatement with our LED. It's our local exhaust ventilation system. We actually create the 3D parts that we print in-house. It's just part of how we protect our intellectual property for what we're doing as well. As I mentioned, we don't have any extra fees at all. So in that one single cut price, you have consultation, repairs, project management, reporting, and engineering as well. When we talk about the differences of grinding versus saw cutting, I would like to submit to you that grinding does remove trip hazards. It absolutely does. And then you can see in your handout the differences between grinding and saw cutting. And I won't read those off to you, but I will tell you that in speaking with street superintendents and public works directors, city engineers and mayors alike, they would tell you that the cost to procure and maintain grinding equipment is prohibitive. They would tell you that they're paying workers' comp claims. That's big, bulky equipment. You're asking them to load, unload. It's not proactive. It's a reactive program with a grinder as well. Each repair is going to take a grinding person 30 to 60 minutes, and that doesn't even include the load and the unload. Typically, you're using a water slurry. It's environmentally damaging. And also, sidewalks are all we do. We literally only do sidewalks. We can nerd out all day on sidewalks. I'm not kidding. That does give you a little bit of legal separation as well, to be able to count on us to help you manage your walkways. We had a municipality in Chicagoland just a couple of years ago whose city attorney recommended that they double their program with us, and they did, based on the fact that they got sued twice for trip and falls, and they had 0 punitive dollars paid out. One was dismissed altogether. As we look to understand your life cycle, the resident, the quality of life is going to improve, the ROI on the infrastructure is going to increase, and also, you're not going to have a bunch of tick-off public works employees who are going out to grind themselves. With that, I appreciate the time that you've given me. You will see me again as we create the executive summaries that will give you data insights to where you'll be able to understand the repair cost per mile, you'll understand R&R per mile, well, all kinds of metrics by which you'll be able to apply a budget and understand exactly how you can achieve your objectives in partnership with us as we move forward. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your evening.
Hey, Phil, as long as you're up there, I want you to just, and I appreciate all the detail and the specs and what I want the board to be able to see, and I want you to kind of maybe move closer to the screen and just kind of talk about how the saw cutting actually works. So that's a picture. Again, these are some shots we took when we were out in Country Club Hills, and obviously that's a picture of a couple of squares. I don't know, what would you say the offset is there, a ½ inch or an inch?
I would say it's closer to an inch, Dan. Okay. This tube that we have here, this tube correlates with the pin that is in Sidewalk Central, so that's the defect ID number. You'll see that too on the map. You'll see it in your report as well. So if you go and you want to say, okay, I want to actually audit some of these, I want to take a look at them, you can absolutely do that very easily. This offset is, we don't see anything like this where it's like 1 inch all the way across evenly. We see mostly twisted panels, especially with tree cities, arbor cities. The impact of trees in Illinois, we know, is an average of 28% of all affected panels. In some of my Tree City and Arbor cities, I see as high as 44%. From a cost perspective, we actually don't charge per panel, we charge per joint. So when you have 2 panels, we're going to actually be able to save 2 panels that would have cost replacement-wise about $600 for about $150. We'll be able to save both those guys. So we're going to take this 1 inch up. Everything's ADA compliant repair. So we're going to actually splash a back line right here, which you can see. It's a 1 to 12 slope ratio. So if it's 1 inch up, we're going to go 12 inches back. We do take multiple measurements across this joint. So you'll see in some of these other photos that some really cool shapes. You'll see some triangles and all kinds of good stuff. And that's because maybe you have a 0 point right here or right here. And then we're going to measure that all the way up so that you complete this repair with a perfectly level slope. As you can see here, oh, and that's a really nice example of a crosscut too on a double twisted panel, that last one there. So we're going to actually start with our horizontal saw, and we're going to cut towards the joint, and that's how the repair is effectively made. Questions?
What kind of a machine does that?
We have 6 patents on our technology. There's no one else in the world like it. We are the franchise affiliate of a global organization. We're the only ones in the world that do what we do. We cover the United States, Canada, Mexico, Australia, and other countries as well. So to answer your question though, it is a horizontal saw that has an actual mounted vacuum. We can 3D print these parts too. It's really neat. But so with that, the saw is actually going, it's handheld. We're actually doing it by hand, just like how sidewalks are, right? And so with that, we're capturing that dust as it comes out of that saw, and we're capturing it locally. We're still wearing all of our masks and all that as well. But it's nice because the residents don't have the dust and they don't have the concrete slurry either. It's almost best of all worlds, really. Does that sufficiently answer your question, sir?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Secondly, how long has this technology or your company been in business?
Yeah, ADA was passed in 1990, and our company was founded in 1991. So they were really created to address, and this is an American company as well. So once ADA passed, and we see forms of ADA all over the world, so we're a leader, and then other folks do what we do sometimes. But so with that, really it was only a year from inception to creating this company.
Philip, when you got something larger than 1 inch, call it a 3 inch. Now normal sidewalks 4-inch board, right? Can you still do a cut? And I know you're talking about the 1 inch, and you got cut back 12 inches. So on a 3-inch rise, you would have to go 36 inches back.
It's doable, but 2 comments. 1, it'd be cost prohibitive at that juncture, really, versus replacement. And then 2, we know that on a 4-inch bore, we can hold 1,900 pounds per square foot. That exceeds every new sidewalk standard. So structural integrity is really important to us. We want to make sure that, and this is another point of the defect criteria, we don't want to make any repairs to something that's going to have to replace in 10 years. So with that, we're saying, hey, where's the trade-off? What's that matrix look like? And that's what Gary and I did together.
So we made a 2-inch criteria.
I got you.
So anything over 2 inches,
right,
we look to replace or choose another option. But right now, our criteria is at 2.
And then the minimum for our criteria is the new PROAG standard of 1/2 inch. PROAG does state that you have to work towards a PROAG standard. So many of my other clients who have had, some in this area who have had more deferred maintenance for many years, we create customized approaches. So what they're doing maybe isn't what you folks who have been a little more on top of it can do here. In some other municipalities in this area, we're going to go with like a triage approach where it's like maybe 7/8 to 2 inches, maybe 1 inch to 2 inches. We created a 5-year plan. We make our way through the entire city over that 5 years with a budget allocation of about $250,000. And then after that, we'll do it again. We'll have all of our R&R batched up. We'll know what that looks like for budgeting purposes. And then we'll go through the city again and drop it down. So it's really more of a 10-year plan there. Here, we feel like we can shoot it at more of a PROAG 1/2 inch, a little easier. It's important also to note that with the executive summaries that we create every year, we have total flexibility. We dive into that data, we want to understand it, and we want to understand how to leverage it. So I have an example too. I had another municipality a few years ago, and it was a very, I guess you'd call it a high-end place, and they really wanted 3/8 of an inch minimum. So that's under a PRO-ACT criteria, and but they felt that for the residents who lived there, that was what they wanted to pursue. My job is to help folks fulfill their objectives, not really recommend much of anything. So I said, okay, and so that's what we did. And the Public Works Director said to me in our annual review that we have with all of our municipal clients, he's like, wow, I really hoped that we had gotten further. And I said, well, a third of the sockets we made were at 3/8 of an inch. Now that was only a sixth of your total budget, but maybe we made a slight change. We could see some improvement there. We did. We made the adjustment. We went to a 1/2 inch, and we were able to stretch it via that methodology. He's very happy and used them as a reference point.
Very good, Billy. Director Richardson.
Yes.
Let's talk about costs.
All right.
Let's get to the,
Well, good.
is this a shared cost with the resident, or how much is the village responsible for, and how much is the resident responsible
So I'm glad you asked that. Just today, first of all, I want to speak about our pilot program that we're going to do with the company. We had 162 locations. 77 of them, 78 qualified for this pilot program, 78 did not. 78 replacement costs, which I've started receiving bids today. As a prime example, for the 78 replacement costs, the first bid came in at $78,000. $78,000. The 77 that we are going to do with the pilot program, I am happy to say, I need to get you down a little bit more, but it came in under 10 grand.
300.
It came in under 10 grand. So that is 78 locations that we are going to do in the pilot program
And you can
this
start
year.
faster, correct?
And this will be done faster.
We'll keep the sidewalks in the ground. You don't have to shut anything
Right.
down. It's literally 10 to 15 minutes in and out.
So I'm excited about that. Administrator Podgorski knows I usually sing concrete different times of the year, and maybe 6 to 8 10 squares runs us $10, $11, $12,000. So I wanted you to see this program tonight. So going forward into our next budget season, I would like to extend this program to become bigger so we might can address more of our hazards that we have in town. I love the portal. The portal has before pictures, after pictures, prices, square feet. So it's been, as you can see, it's been great being with Phil for about 3-4 months, going around town, because I think I know everything about concrete right now. So Phil, I want to thank you for coming out today. Thank you very much. Administrator.
The proposal is only good until September 26th of this year, so is there a change?
For the pilot program, we're going to go through with that, yes. Yes, ma'am. We're going to go through with the pilot program.
So just to kind of wrap up some of the details here. So as Gary, as the superintendent of public works stated, there's 77 or 78 squares that we're going to propose to put in this saw cutting program that Safe Step can do. The total proposed cost there is $10,893. We paid $1,500 for an assessment, so that's going to bring it down to, we've already paid that. So Phil's going to apply that cost to the saw cutting. So that'll bring the cost of these saw cutting defects down to $9,300. That's the number you saw in your packet there. So from a approval standpoint, when we're under 20, we don't normally come and get formal approval. We wanted to bring this program to you to kind of show you this is a pilot that we want to try out this year. We're kind of starting with Public Works list of, I think Gary called them the problem children. These are the ones that...
The chronic callers?
Yeah,
Yes.
these are the ones that have been gathering, right? We're going to start here. This is the tip of the iceberg in terms of sidewalk repairs that we can make. So I think I'd still like to have the board formally consider and approve the program, just because it's something different, it's something new, and Phil took the time to come here and show us. And then Gary will probably also then come with a couple of bids at the next meeting to deal with the squares that don't fit this criteria, the ones that probably have a greater than 2-inch offset, that the recommendation is going to be to replace them. So this also ties into the capital improvement program that CMAP presented last month. We did the participatory budgeting, the voting this year, and the residents. The number one item was sidewalk trip hazard removal. So as you can see, I mean, we were out in Country Club Hills, back in March. It was before we did any participatory budgeting, and Gary and I have been kind of arm wrestling about sidewalk trip hazard for a little while. But this is both the saw cutting and the sidewalk square replacements are budgeted for, and this year's budget will be able to absorb this, $10,800, and then whatever the other bids come in, and if it's at 70 or 80, we'll be able to budget for that. So again, it's meant to be a pilot program this year. We want to see, I want to be able to show some pictures up at the end of the year of what some of our leisure squares in Country Club Hills. I want to be able to, show how it works in Lansing. And then if we're satisfied with it, then probably next year the program would be bigger. So again, we don't. So Attorney Welch, I don't think we have to formally approve the program, but there is on page 3 of the sidewalk repair proposal, there's a survey summary. So there's a couple, there you go, you're looking at it right now, you're looking at that page. At the bottom of the page, it has a map.
Yeah, I mean, if the spending, if the total cost is under 10.
It's under 20, yeah. Right. So again, I think we could, Trustee Grady Perovich had a question, Phil, because our next meeting is not till October 1st. You hold these prices until then?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, very good. Okay, so again, I think as just from a formality standpoint, since we've spent the time, invested the time here at the meeting, we'll put this on the agenda for approval on October 1st. And then at that committee meeting that night, Gary may have some quotes for the sidewalk repairs, replacement as well. Okay. Any other questions for Gary or Phil from Safety?
Thank you. I do have a question. This is what a great program. And I'm walking around town my whole life almost. I noticed a lot of where the water shut off is, there's a pipe sticking up 3 or 4 inches.
The V-boxes.
Yeah. Is that something that, I don't know, Phil can maybe look at some of those to trim those down? Can those be trimmed down? Because like I said, some of them are sticking up 3 or 4 inches on the sidewalk. To me, it seems like it could be.
We've been going around cutting them.
Oh, you have?
And trying to lower them.
Okay.
That's a part of this too, a lot of the sinking. Now those raise up, water leaks. So we've been going around cutting them as much as we can see them. But with this program, now we'll have it all computerized. When we do sidewalks, as we walk these to check these, we'll see them. Yes.
For the first time, I think Lansing will have geospatial information system technology on sidewalks. We'll be actually mapping those for you. You'll have insights into your infrastructure, understand how to manage it. It'll all be through GIS. Additionally, and that's all built in as part of the cost. And then additionally, we create customized attributes. Those P-boxes and water valves are one customized attribute that other municipalities are currently pursuing. Those also non-compliant ramps. There are a number of things that we can do to improve your walkways and work with you, however you best see fit. Cool.
And none of this is in a retail area, these are all residential sidewalks?
I'm sorry?
They're all residential sidewalks?
This pilot program, we focused on residential areas. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Provide us with your name. Please keep your comment no more than 5 minutes. Does anyone in the audience have public comment this evening? Thank you. The trustees have anything for old old business? Do the trustees have anything for new business?
Just a final comment. I know things at the end of our village board meeting are rather emotional. Sometimes we feel helpless situations like that occurred over last weekend. I just want to say from personal experience and working with our building commissioners or that problems in neighborhoods can be dealt with. I worked through that personal experience with a neighbor, and it did involve firearms. No shots were fired. The gentleman had a problem. We worked together to get his problem addressed, and we talk every day. So there is hope for turning things around, and I do know that we have entities within our village that are not afraid of going to doors and knocking on doors and having conversations. Our police do it, our building department does it, and the more that we do that type of thing and get to know our residents and get to understand each other about what is actually happening and what's tolerated and what isn't tolerated in our village, things do turn around. And that's from personal experience. So I trust that we will be able to work through this like we have in the past and find a good solution to problems that are upsetting on the front end.
Yeah, Chair, I'd like to commend the mayor. About 3 years ago, we had an incident behind Books, and we all can remember that we had residents coming in because they had bullet holes in their bedrooms. And the mayor and the board, we were able to address that issue by, I think, keeping, them closed, by 8:30. So, and it seemed like that has worked. So I'm hoping that, we can come up with a solution because, as a lot of the residents were saying, that, these are residents that have been, in our town their whole lives and they're 7 years old. And, certainly do not want to move. I mean, Lansing is, all the residents to me are important, but this was literally a half a block from my home too, so it affects me all the time, but it was even a little closer to home. So these are all my neighbors that I grew up with that, they're very concerned about it. And talking with Chief Phillips, thank you, sir, for taking the time to talk to them, and hopefully we can, come up with a solution, because we certainly can't tell, if this happens around the whole, around the whole country, good neighborhoods and everything else. I think it was a couple months ago in Portland, a woman was, gunned down, so it doesn't matter where you're at, but I think, being, out there and having the neighbors, come out and express, concerns that they have with possibly other things too. I think, the neighborhood watch crime and stuff that we have, I think is really important. And I'm hoping that this continues to happen. So, but again, Chief, thank you. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Trustee that have anything else for new business? Ask for a motion to adjourn.
So,
Second.
Ask the village clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Hardy?
aye.
Trustee Abbasy?
Aye.
Trustee Valencia?
Aye.
Trustee Zeldinrust?
Aye.
Trustee Smith? Aye. Trustee Grady Paravich?
Aye.